Man, essentially, the Black Man Project is a nonprofit that is created to serve as a safe space for Black men and Black women to go to group therapy sessions, to practice other therapeutic things that we might not realize are therapeutic. So we provide spaces for those. So essentially, that's essentially what the Black Man Project is. Yeah. What inspired it is I was working on a documentary. I got an Andy Warhol grant, and in that documentary, I interviewed about 45 Black men and boys. And this was 2018, 2017. And 90% of those interviews ended in tears. Um, the questions that I was asking the Black men really kind of opened them up. Their inner boy got a voice. And in these interviews, I was just like, man, there's so much more here. Like, so I left charge to do more than just the documentary. And so at that same time, I founded the Black Man Project. I didn't know that it would turn into what it's turned into. It's steady evolving. But essentially, I had to create the space that I was looking for because even myself, I was going through my own things. And so the Black Man Project served as that. I mean, essentially, it started at one point. I was an artist in resident in Project Row Houses. And so I had a very small studio space. And it started in the studio space, just Black men gathering and talking. And then we add the therapeutic component, really trying to steer away from, get men to stay away from the taboo of what therapy is. So if you do it in a group setting, it doesn't feel as, I don't know, restrictive. It doesn't feel as like what the movies make it look like it is. And so it was like a way to introduce group therapy session. It was a way to introduce therapy in a group setting in hopes of giving men graduating to their own individual therapy sessions, which we did. And so when I talk about the evolution of that, that's one of the things. And then also we added the Black Women Project. And so now that's happening. Now that's um, once a month group therapy sessions for the Black women. And so it's like you can't do one thing without doing the other because we both need it. It's detrimental. It's really important to every parts of us. And so, yeah. Well, at one point we were traveling the nation, doing interviews with men. And honestly, around COVID is when we kind of started to reevaluate what that looks like. It's like, how can we not pour into where we live? Like Houston is huge. We have all these siloed, you got Cypress, you got Katy. How do we bring it to Houston in a way that it is serving our community? Like, how do we pour into the ground that we are standing on first? And so for the last 4 or 5 years, we have been committed to providing that space. And it started off very small and has grown tremendously to the point to where we're doing once a month. This is our third year renewed with the Museum of Fine Arts Houston, where we do morning meditation. We first came on with the Kayende Wiley Archaeology of Silence partnership. So we had Black men therapy sessions in conjunction with the Kayende Wiley Archaeology of Silence showing, and we had Black women therapy at a museum. So we were packing out, 50, 60 men coming to group therapy session. Then you have 60, 70 women coming to group therapy session. Now, at some point we realized we had to cap it because otherwise it's not serving in the way that it should, but it shows the need, right? And so we added the morning meditation, and it's just grown from there. Man, I'm gonna try not to get emotional thinking about that. I did not have a father, but I had many fathers. So I've been very fortunate to have, coaches that step in, uncles. I grew up, you know, both my parents were incarcerated, so I was raised with my grandmother. And I just remember the need and want and looking for community to talk about certain things and not really having the language for that, you know, but then getting older and understanding that, man, we've been given a very limited toolbox to express ourselves. And I think, man, that's bullshit, and I want to expand the tools that we have in our toolkit so that we can express ourselves in all the other ways that other people do. And first and foremost, in order for that to happen, you got to be around people that are able to express those emotions that somebody told you you didn't have access to. Because one thing we always display, that we're taught to display, is anger. But underneath this anger is sadness, resentment, all these other flow of emotions. So it's like, how do you give men permission to have access to those? How do you give, especially in a society where they tell us you're not human, like not in the way that other people are. Like you don't have access to those other emotions. I think what's his name, Jason Wilson, talks about it best. He says women have 64 Crayolas in their coloring box, and men have 8. But in truth, we all have 64 colors in our coloring box. You just gotta have somebody show you that you also have access to the same coloring box. So yeah, man, it's that. It's really that. Man, I am number one. I'm grateful, but I'm not. It's not a me. It's a we. It's a we. I am in partnership with those men because I am those men. Um, I too need the same things that we go over in these group therapy sessions. I too have those same struggles as I'm navigating certain emotions, giving myself permission to have access to the full coloring box. So, it goes back to becoming the thing that you're looking for. I'll be honest and say it started with me first. Like it was a need for me. And just in observing and being in community, you know, true being in true community means you are in response to a call and a need, right? And so if you listen into the community, you hear the unheard tears of men. You hear the unheard tears of the women of the men that are looking for them to have a space to fall apart and be put back together. So um, it feels great. And then if I'm yeah, it's a huge lift, and I'm thankful to be doing the work.